As a new mom, I was regularly harassed by unsolicited parenting advice from family, friends, neighbors, the lady in the checkout line, websites, billboards, and even the neighbor's 5-year-old daughter. This overload of information is common for new parents, and while every bit of advice is well-meaning, parents are tasked with sifting through the information to decide which pieces of advice are worth following. One piece of advice sticks out in my mind as having been shouted from all four corners of the earth. Don't let your child play video games. Even though my husband and I are both gamers, we followed this advice with our eldest. We decided not to buy a tablet, so it was never a temptation through her toddler years. We waited until she was asleep before pulling out the Nintendo, and we limited her exposure to kid-friendly apps on our smartphones. Now my little girl is in first grade, and I want to shout from the mountaintops that this statement is wrong. While our society continues to parade this anti-video game ballad, our children are missing out on the opportunity to reap the physical, mental, and social benefits that regular video game play has to offer, and to build a better foundation for their lives. Stick with me and I'll show you how. Typically, when video games and children are listed together, we repeatedly hear cautionary claims such as, video games make kids overweight. As with any other pursuit in life, we must practice and teach moderation in all things. Luckily, the video game industry has produced several kinetic gaming systems. The newest of these models include Microsoft's Xbox One paired with the Kinect, which came out in 2012, Sony's PlayStation 4, which is paired with the Move controllers, and that came out in 2013, and the Nintendo Switch came out earlier this year, and in addition to those, there's also the uprising of virtual reality consoles. The world experienced in real time how video games can move the masses with the release of Pokemon Go in July 2016. This free-to-play, location-based augmented reality game has 750 million downloads to date, and that's according to DMR Business Statistics. Pokemon Go's simple design engages trainers of all ages, requiring them to physically search for the equipment Pokemon needed to progress in the game. Each of these games encourage movement and, as reported by CBS, offer a fun approach to motivating heavier children to slim down. Next, who hasn't heard that video games will ruin your eyesight? Brain scientist Daphne Bevler and her team measured the impact of video games on the brain. Their studies have concluded that playing 5 to 15 hours of action-based video games each week correlates with better vision, as well as improved ability to see more detail in the context of a cluster. She demonstrates the basics of their experiments in her TED Talk titled, Your Brain on Video Games. Our next accusation to tackle is, are video games making kids dumb? Huffington Post, Maternity Glow, and The Parents Magazine, each of which is geared towards new parents, particularly moms, have published similar articles listing the intellectual benefits children glean from gaming. These benefits include improved memory, creativity and problem-solving abilities, reading comprehension, attention and concentration, the ability to think more quickly, how to fail, and then how to recover from failure. In addition to these attributes, video games can get kids interested in culture, history, and sports while familiarizing them with keyboards. Gamers struggling to socialize is perhaps the best known gaming stereotype. Older generations, aka the parents, believe video games to be an isolating activity. Children, however, see gaming as a social activity. At face value, video games are what every child is talking about in the lunchroom, what they emulate on the playgrounds, and what they color pictures of in their spare time. Dr. Jane McGonigal, a game designer who promotes utilizing video games for the good of the real world, shares that 70% of children play multiplayer games on local stations, which means multiple players in the same room. Parents.com advocates that children who play video games in groups, either local or online, take turns leading and following, depending on who has the specific skills needed in that game. Conjoined with opportunities to lead, children have opportunities to teach. Nick Yee of Palo Alto Research Center reported to Parents.com that roughly 1/3 of the children they studied said they played video games in part because they like teaching others how to play. Each of these benefits can start improving the life of a child during the first round of gameplay. As mentioned before, the benefits continue past childhood. Children who play video games typically become interested in technology at an early age, often out of necessity. If your child wants to keep up with the newest games, they'll eventually need to repair or upgrade their platform, giving them real-life skills of troubleshooting workstations. Many players write modifications, often called mod packs, to add their own twists or features to their favorite games. Creating a mod pack is like making a mini video game. It requires researching, planning, coding, and designing graphics before it can be implemented. Building a successful mod pack is a significant enough achievement to list on a resume. Even if your child doesn't wind up in a technology-related field of employment, most careers rely on technology. Playing video games will give your children a head start in their careers just by being familiar with a computer. So how can you implement these benefits in a child's life? Ask a child what his or her favorite video game is, and if the title is new to you, ask them to show you how to play it. If you're familiar with the game, then ask them to play with you. As you play together, conversations will come more easily, and you may even get to build a new hobby together. What's more, the time you spend playing video games with your child, you can reap the same mental, physical, and social benefits video games have to offer. In this technological age, it is imperative that we teach our children to succeed using technology, starting in our homes. So do your part today and ask a child to play. Thanks for your time.